Have you ever thought that something as simple as a shower, an act we associate with comfort, cleanliness, and routine, could quietly become the single most dangerous moment in an elderly person's day? It sounds like an exaggeration, but let me walk you through this. Imagine the early morning, sunlight barely touching the windows, the air still heavy with sleep, the house wrapped in silence. You picture your mother or your grandfather or someone you deeply love slowly waking up. Maybe they take a deep breath, swing their legs over the side of the bed, and head into the bathroom. It's a familiar rhythm. They've done it thousands of times before. No alarms, no cries for help, just another morning. But on this particular day, something subtle has shifted. Something no one notices until it's too late. Their blood pressure is already unstable from the natural transition between sleep and wakefulness. Their medication, taken just 30 minutes prior, is beginning to affect their system. They haven't eaten, they haven't had any water, and still they proceed toward the shower. They just want to feel normal. But by the time they close the bathroom door, steam begins to rise, blood vessels begin to expand, and that quick, sudden drop in pressure robs their body of balance. The dizziness strikes, their vision dims, their knees buckle, and there is no one there to catch them. There's no drama, no loud crash that alerts the neighbors, only silence. This isn't fiction, this is reality. It's what happened to Eleanor, 76 years old, bright, sharp, and full of life. A woman who lived on her own by choice, not by neglect. A woman who made her own tea, read her own mail, and never asked for help if she could do it herself. The same woman who died alone, after slipping in her own shower at 7:14 in the morning, a time she'd stuck to religiously. She had just texted her daughter the night before, "Looking forward to lunch tomorrow. Love you." By noon the next day, her daughter was banging on the bathroom door. No answer, just silence, steam, and loss. What makes this so heartbreaking is that it wasn't carelessness. Eleanor didn't make a mistake. She wasn't being reckless. She was following the routine she believed was safe, because no one ever told her it wasn't. The truth is, this is a common and preventable danger, rooted in a simple misunderstanding of the aging body. For years, we've told people that morning showers are refreshing, a great way to jumpstart the day, and for young people, maybe they are. But for seniors, those in their 70s, 80s, and beyond, this jumpstart can be too much, too fast. In the early morning, the body undergoes a natural spike in blood pressure as it moves from rest to activity. Add a hot shower into the equation, and blood vessels dilate quickly, dropping pressure rapidly. This mix of pressure instability, warmth, hunger, and dehydration becomes a recipe for collapse. Most of the time, no one sees it coming, but every time it could have been foreseen. This story of Eleanor is not isolated. All across the country, families are discovering too late that timing, not just environment, is one of the deadliest factors in elderly safety. That's why it's vital we talk about it, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. If you care about elderly wisdom and want to protect the people who once protected you, if you believe in preserving dignity and life through awareness, this is your moment to act. Think about your own parents or grandparents. Do they wake up and shower before breakfast? Before hydrating? Before their bodies have had time to adjust to the day? Have you ever asked them about it? Would they even admit to feeling dizzy in the shower? Probably not. Most seniors don't. Not because they're stubborn, but because they don't want to seem weak. They don't want to be a burden. That's why it's on us to have the conversation. To initiate the change, start with a simple shift. Encourage your loved one to shower later in the morning or even in the early evening. Give the body time to stabilize. After breakfast, after hydration, after the medication has done its job without being compounded by heat. It's not about fear, it's about wisdom. It's about seeing through the illusion of routine and recognizing the hidden risks that come with age. And if you're still unsure how serious this is, let me give you another piece of the puzzle. Eleanor took her blood pressure medication 30 minutes before stepping into the shower. The pill did what it was supposed to. It lowered her blood pressure. But the shower, acting like a second trigger, amplified the effect. Her system couldn't handle both. She likely felt lightheaded, but she went in anyway, because she'd done it 1,000 times before, because nobody ever told her it was dangerous. That's the tragedy. Medications, especially those for high blood pressure, heart conditions, anxiety, and pain, are designed to shift the body's internal systems, but they don't exist in a vacuum. They interact with heat, with hunger, with dehydration, and yes, with showers. The problem is, most families don't connect the dots. We assume that if the prescription is being followed, everything must be fine. We forget to ask the critical question: what time of day is it being taken? And more importantly, what's happening right after? Now I want to introduce you to someone else. Margaret, she's 77, lives on her own, very similar to Eleanor, but Margaret's story took a different turn because her daughter noticed something. She asked, "Mom, when do you shower?" Margaret replied, "First thing after waking up, about after breakfast." At first, Margaret resisted, but within weeks it became her new rhythm. And not long after, Margaret told her daughter something surprising. "I didn't realize how dizzy I was feeling until I stopped showering early. I just thought it was part of aging." That's the insight. Most seniors don't realize the risk until it's removed. They think dizziness is normal, that fatigue is expected, but sometimes those symptoms aren't just age, they're warnings. In elderly reflections, we often talk about quiet dangers, the whispers of risk that go unnoticed. This is one of them. That's why if you take nothing else from this story, take this. Talk to your loved ones. Adjust the timing. Be aware of how medication interacts with everyday routines. Because these small shifts, they're life-saving. They're not about taking away independence. They're about protecting it. They're about respecting the hard-earned freedom of aging while guarding it with wisdom. This is what senior health looks like. Not just treatments and pills, but understanding, timing, empathy, action, and we're not done yet. There's another layer. You might be thinking, okay, I'll shift the time, I'll monitor the meds. That should be enough, right? But what if I told you that even with all that in place, your loved one could still be in danger? Because of the design of the bathroom itself, because of invisible traps hiding in plain sight. Next, we'll explore exactly what's lurking beneath your feet, the tiles, the mats, the water temperature, the design decisions that could mean the difference between safety and tragedy. And you'll hear what happened to Margaret when one of those hidden traps nearly took her life, even after she changed her shower time. So stay with me, because we're not just telling stories, we're revealing truths. Hard, often overlooked truths. This is more than just a video, it's a lifeline. A voice saying what your loved one may never say out loud: "I'm more vulnerable than I let on." And it's a reminder that your awareness, your love, your action, it matters. That's the real lesson from the elderly. That's the quote worth remembering: routine is comfortable, but comfort can't replace caution. Join me next as we dig deeper into the unseen threats hiding in your loved one's bathroom and the $5 fix that could prevent a tragedy before it begins. Margaret adjusted her shower head like she had done every week for the last 20 years. Her daughter had convinced her to move her shower to late morning, after breakfast, after water, after medication had run its course. It made a difference. She felt steadier, more awake. But even with all those smart changes, there was something she didn't see, something right beneath her feet. The tile floor of her shower glistened, clean, familiar, too familiar. That morning, Margaret turned the handle slowly, allowing the water to warm. The steam curled up, softening the mirror's reflection. She stepped in, braced herself on the wall out of habit, and within seconds, her foot slid, just slightly, but enough to jolt her balance. Her hand grabbed for something, anything, but there was nothing there. No grab bar, no textured tile, no friction. And just like that, the world tilted. Her heart raced, her knees buckled. But this time, she caught herself. She sat down on the edge of the tub, breathing hard, steam filling the space like a fog of warning. Later, she told her daughter, "It was like the floor disappeared beneath me." Her daughter froze, then whispered, "What were you holding on to?" Margaret answered simply, "Nothing." And that word "nothing" held the weight of a near tragedy. Because here's what too many families miss. Even when we fix the timing, if we ignore the space, we've left a job unfinished. Let's talk about the environment. The average bathroom looks innocent. Polished tiles, clean lines, smooth porcelain. But for seniors, it's a trap disguised as routine. Here's why. Smooth surfaces plus water plus heat equals danger. That combination becomes exponentially riskier for someone whose reflexes have slowed, whose muscles don't respond as quickly, and whose balance isn't what it used to be. It's not about fear-mongering, it's about facing reality. According to senior health studies, over 80% of falls in people over 65 happen at home. And the bathroom is the one location. It's not the stairs, it's not the driveway. It's the same place they go to feel clean, to refresh, to feel human. And it's turning against them. Why? Because most homes are designed for function, not protection. Because we assume that putting down a rubber bath mat years ago means we're done. But ask yourself this: when was the last time you replaced that mat? Has it curled at the corners, Lost grip? Does it really keep someone from falling, or does it just give the illusion of safety? And then there's the grab bars, or more accurately, the lack of them. Many bathrooms don't have them at all. Some have suction cup handles that pop off when pulled too hard. Others have decorative rails that aren't weight-bearing. But here's what you need to know. If it can't support the full weight of an adult body suddenly falling, it's not a safety bar. It's a liability. Margaret's bathroom had none. No rails, no seat, just slippery tile and wishful thinking. And she's not alone. Walk into the homes of most seniors and you'll find the same thing. Clean, familiar, and quietly dangerous. So, what can you do? First, stop assuming that familiarity equals safety. Just because they've used that shower for 40 years doesn't mean it's still safe. In fact, that comfort can be the most dangerous part. Second, upgrade with intention. Replace old mats with anti-slip flooring or industrial-grade grip strips. Install anchored grab bars, ones drilled into the studs, designed to hold hundreds of pounds. Consider a shower chair, even if your loved one insists they don't need it. Because here's the truth. Pride is strong, but gravity is stronger. Still, not all danger is physical. Some of it hides within the body itself, and it whispers quietly before it screams. Let's talk about that other risk, the one that creeps in when no one's watching. Fatigue. Not the kind from a long day, the kind that feels off, subtle, like a warning the body doesn't yet have words for. That's what Margaret said the night before her almost fall. I just feel a little off. That's it. 5 small words, easily dismissed. But when her daughter thought back, she remembered, that voice didn't sound quite right. It was softer, slower, almost unsure. And this is the second trap. We dismiss what feels like just tiredness. But for seniors, fatigue isn't just a symptom. It can be the signal. Fatigue might mean low blood pressure. It might mean a minor infection brewing. It could be dehydration from the day before. Even mild imbalance, when paired with heat and movement, becomes high risk. Most elders don't want to admit when they feel weak. They'll say they're fine. But if they hesitate to stand in, here's a powerful life lesson from the elderly. The body doesn't always scream when something's wrong. Sometimes it whispers, and when we don't listen, we risk everything. That's why your role is so critical. Whether you're a son, a daughter, a caregiver, or a concerned neighbor, you must become the interpreter of those whispers. Make it a rule. If they feel off, they don't shower alone. Period. Maybe it's a sponge bath. Maybe they sit on a bench instead. Maybe you just check in on them before and after. But don't let silence become a substitute for safety. You see, this isn't about removing dignity. It's about protecting it. We're not taking away freedom. We're building the framework where freedom survives. And sometimes that means having the hard conversations. It means asking, do you feel confident standing that long today? It means observing what they won't say. And most importantly, it means believing them when they say they're tired, even if everything else seems fine. Now let me bring us back to Margaret. That almost fall, the one that could have mirrored Eleanor's story, did something unexpected. It woke her up. She told her daughter, I thought I had everything under control, but that floor, it didn't care. That sentence stuck with me because it reminded me of a simple truth. Hazards don't wait until you're ready. They strike when you're not. In our job, the reason we tell these stories is to make sure we're one step ahead. Before we go any further, take a moment to look around the bathroom of someone you love. Does it have a real grab bar? Is the mat secure? Is there a place to sit if they feel dizzy? When was the last time you tested the water temperature? Consistency. These may seem like small things, but they are everything. And if you're thinking, well, they've been fine so far, I want you to remember this. So was Eleanor, until she wasn't. The loop isn't closed yet, because while we've talked about time, environment, and energy, there's still one more threat. One that's even harder to spot. A threat that turns from survivable into fatal. Not because of what happens during the fall, but because of what happens after. That story, and the most powerful truth I've ever heard from a senior, who lived through it, awaits you next. Margaret survived her almost fall. She changed her shower time, added grab bars, learned to listen to her body when it whispered that something felt off. But there was still one part of her story she couldn't control. The fact that when she nearly fell, no one knew. No voice called from the other room. No one knocked on the door. No one asked, are you okay in there? Because Margaret lived alone, just like Eleanor did. Just like millions of seniors do, by choice, by independence, or simply because life worked out that way. And this is where we arrive at the final, most devastating risk. Not the water, not the heat, not the tile, Not even the fatigue, it's the isolation. The quiet, the hours that pass without anyone noticing they're gone. You see, many seniors take pride in their independence. They've spent their whole lives taking care of others, raising children, running businesses, building communities. They've earned the right to live life on their own terms. But independence, when left unchecked, can become a trap. Because when something goes wrong, when a fall happens in the bathroom and there's no one to see it, the danger isn't the injury, it's the delay. Think about this. If Eleanor had fallen with someone in the next room, she might have been saved. If Margaret hadn't caught herself that morning and no one checked in, the result might have been just as tragic. Every minute after a fall matters. The difference between a minor bruise and a life-ending injury isn't always the fall itself. It's how long the body stays on that cold, wet floor without help. The silence after the thud, that's what takes lives. In elderly wisdom, there's a heartbreaking lesson few people are brave enough to say out loud. Many seniors would rather risk their lives than admit they need help. Why? Because they fear becoming a burden. They fear losing control. They fear being watched, being monitored, being pitied. But what they don't always realize is that asking for support isn't surrender. It's strategy, it's strength, and it's up to us to help them see that. So what can we do? Start small. Begin with a check-in system. A simple call or text before and after the shower. A neighbor who agrees to knock at a set time. A motion sensor light. A waterproof fall alert button that stays on their wrist or neck, even in the shower. These aren't gadgets, these are lifelines. They turn silence into a safety net. Technology has come so far, but too many families don't use it, not because they don't care, but because they don't know. You can even set up sensors that alert family members if no movement has been detected in a room after a certain period. These tools don't strip away dignity, they preserve it. Let me tell you something Margaret said after her near fall. If I had hit my head, no one would have known for hours, maybe a day. That scared me more than the fall itself. That fear that nobody would find them in time is one many seniors carry quietly. They don't say it, but they think it. And that's why you matter more than you realize. You are the difference between fear and peace, between silence and survival. And if you're still wondering whether these stories apply to your family, let me ask you this. Have you asked your parents or grandparents what they would do if they felt dizzy in the shower? Do they have a plan? Do they tell you when they feel a little off? Or do they brush it off with a smile and a quiet, "I'm fine"? Because if you're hearing "I'm fine" too often, you may be missing the signals. The body always speaks, it's just not always loud. In the final weeks before Eleanor passed, her daughter recalled that she had mentioned feeling tired more than usual. "It's probably just age," she said. "Just need a good night's sleep." But that tiredness was more than fatigue. It was the precursor, the warning, and like most warnings from the body, it didn't shout. It whispered. Here's a quote that stayed with me from an elderly man who survived a similar incident. "People think dying is loud, but when you live alone, it's quiet, so quiet you don't even notice when the danger begins." That line shattered me, because it's true, and it's why awareness is not just power, it's protection. So, let's close every loop. You now know the most dangerous time of day for a senior to shower is early morning. You know why: blood pressure, medication, body transition. You know how the bathroom's designed, mats, bars, can be either a guardian or a threat. You've heard that fatigue is not just tiredness, but often a red flag for something deeper. And now you understand that the greatest risk of all may be silence. That moment when no one's there to help, and no one even knows. But this isn't a story about fear. This is about prevention. This is about honoring the lives that built ours by making sure they're safe, protected, and still in control. Just with a little more support. Elderly reflections aren't just about the past, they're about what we carry forward, the wisdom we inherit, the decisions we make to preserve what matters most. If you've watched this far, you're already doing something many people won't. You're showing up, you're paying attention, and I promise you that matters more than you know. So now it's your turn to act. Call them. Ask, do you feel steady when you shower? Have you ever felt dizzy? Do you want me to check in during bath time? Look around their home. Are there grab bars? Is the mat secure? Is there a way for them to call for help if they fall? This isn't just caregiving, it's love in action. It's the deepest form of motivation. Protecting those who once protected you. We all want to believe that our loved ones are okay, that they'll be fine, but hoping isn't a strategy. Action is. That's the real life lesson from the elderly. We must prepare before the fall, not after. Because when tragedy strikes, there are no second chances. Only silence and grief, and a question no family should have to ask. What if I had done more? But today you can do more. You've seen the story. You've heard the truth. Now go protect someone. Build a new habit. Install that grab bar. Make that call. Be the difference between routine and regret. And if you found something in this video that spoke to you, something that made you think of your mom, your dad, your grandparent, your neighbor, then share this. Someone else needs to hear it too. Someone else's story might still be unwritten. And maybe, just maybe, your awareness is the reason they get to write more chapters. That is the most powerful gift we can give. More time, more mornings, more dignity, more life.